Hello and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, got a good one here for you. We have Bobby Tinsley, who is the co-founder of SKUX, talking with the HBAR bull. And basically we're talking about a huge use case that they want to do utilizing Hedera. And I think this is a great use case. And they're actually working with Mondelez International. So Mondelez International have just become members of the Hedera Governing Council. Covered that recently. So these guys are actually working with Mondelez International. So I actually wonder if they played a part in Mondelez International joining the council, because it could have been a thing of Mondelez International were working with SKUX are working with Hedera, developing on Hedera. So they said, hey, this is a really great network, this is what we use. Maybe it's something that you guys might want to consider, looking into or something like that. Or maybe just because they were working with SKUX, they just want to understand the technology that little bit more in regards to what's being done, right? In regards to what SKUX do and how it works. So whatever the reason, it just made me wonder. But real big deal here in terms of a great use case again for Hedera and just adding to its utility, because as I've said to you guys before, the more Hedera is utilized in whatever avenue, whatever aspect, it's all just value to HBAR. It doesn't have to be that they master one avenue. They can be a jack of all trades. That's great because it's still plenty of value. And the thing is, when you just put yourself in one avenue, what if you fail, right? What if you don't end up being as successful in that one avenue as you'd have hoped? Well, you've kind of put all your eggs in one basket, right? So the fact that Hedera can be utilized in so many different ways, in so many different industries, it just means they've got way more potential to succeed, because they can just be getting value from each different industry that's ultimately adding to the value flowing through HBAR. So real great stuff in that regard. But we'll get into this now. We've got an interview here, as I say, from Bobby Tinsley with the HBAR bull. And he's basically just explaining his company SKUX and what their use case is. So let's get into this. I'm not going to play the video as always for copyright purposes, but I have got my bullet points, so we'll get into them. So we've got coupon fraud. So what we're talking about here in terms of what SKUX do. Let's just say you're a company, right? So let's just go with Mondelez International. So when you think about Mondelez International, let's just say they've released a product, whatever, it could be a chocolate bar or something like that, or some biscuits, and the customer has some kind of complaint. Maybe they ordered some of these biscuits to be delivered to their door, the package was damaged, the biscuits were damaged, that kind of thing. I don't know, they're unhappy with the service, whatever. So they put a complaint into Mondelez International saying, hey, not happy with this service, this is what's happened, XYZ. So a representative of Mondelez International say, hey, we're sorry you've had this experience. We're happy to give you some kind of refund or a coupon for a certain amount of value as an apology for the service that you have received. And so, generally speaking, they'd normally give them like a check or like a postal order or a coupon, that kind of thing. And so the problem with that is coupon fraud is a big deal. They're losing a lot of money in regards to this type of fraud. And unfortunately, a lot of the money that's being spent, it's not going back to the consumer, because a lot of it is trying to combat it, right? And so it's one of these things where this industry, it's rife with fraud in that aspect, in that avenue, okay? So the simplified thing of this use case is, well, rather than sending like a coupon or a check or whatever, you'd have the option to have a SKUX digital payment, right? And so that would be something that they could just redeem on like their mobile phone, for example, right? And then it's just a coupon that they have on their phone. So think about it a bit like Apple Pay, on your phone, or Android Pay, whatever. You could maybe just have that coupon, this digital coupon on your phone, and then you could just go to a shop and, you scan the coupon off your phone, and that's it. It's done, right? So this is the kind of thing as to what would be so much better, because this is the other thing as well with like the coupons and checks or whatever. Obviously, they have to send that out to you. So straight away, that's a thing where you're not going to get the money straight away. The money could obviously get lost in the post or something like that, because, if these coupons are not necessarily specified to this individual or whatever, well, let's just say, for example, it goes missing and someone finds this, or, maybe you've got a shady postman or whatever, and they see this letter and they say, oh, it's you know, I've got £50 here, you know, I'll just take that, you know, that kind of thing. So it's that kind of concern as to what causes problems. But what they're doing here is they're allowing like a digital payment that would be able to go to the consumer directly. Now that would obviously be a lot easier because you're not having to wait for the money's going directly to you. That's obviously going to knock down the elements of potential fraud, but also because they can track and trace the entire life cycle of the payment through Hedera, through the DLT technology. And that is the key part here. So there's no thing where, you know, like the consumer could lie and say, oh, you know, I never received it, can you send me another one? And then next thing you know, they've got two. Because that's another thing, right? It could be that the consumer could also be a bit disingenuous, and they could say, oh, I never received it, but really they did. And then they get a second one sent out, and then they've got two. But with this, you can track and trace the actual payment, right? The coupon that you've sent out, because it's digital and it's on the Hedera network, so they can trace it. So they can say, yeah, this has been redeemed. You know, this was issued on this date, the person received it, and they redeemed the coupon on this date at this place, that kind of thing. So it's a lot easier in terms of mitigating fraud. Huge thing, right? Because you're also lowering the cost for the company, right? Because they're not having to send things out via the mail anymore. Lowering paper waste, that kind of stuff. So making life a bit more green, you know, doing it digitally rather than doing it physically. It's quicker for the consumer because, again, they're not having to wait for this to be received in the post. There's no concerns of them not receiving it in the post. You're not going to be worrying about the consumer maybe claiming that they haven't received it. All these things will be mitigated by using SKUX and their technology. So you can already see why this is such a benefit to companies like Mondelez. You know, this is really something that's big for merchants. You know, it's them who are going to benefit greatly from this, but it is a big deal because if you're sending out money all the time because of, you know, complaints and things like that, this can add up, right? And if they have to just take the consumer's word for it, you don't know how many times people could be disingenuously just fleecing the company, right? Or not in that aspect, they could just genuinely be getting lost. The coupons could just be getting lost, or the checks, whatever. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but it ultimately falls back on the merchant, right? Because if the consumer genuinely didn't receive the payment, well, they've just got to send another one, right? So that's just another payment that they've now lost because it's likely that the other one's probably been redeemed as well. But in their age and what they're using, they can't track that. Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is where you can see the kind of use case and why this would be so great for Hedera, right? For these companies. And man, if you just think about Mondelez International, I've told you guys before, they're a very big company. They deal with like Cadbury, Milka, Toblerone, Oreo, all these huge brands, right? So if you think about all these brands, if they were to all join, like not just Mondelez, because Mondelez covers a lot of those brands that I've just mentioned, but like if you get all these other big companies who start joining, like for example, Nike, Adidas, you know, Amiri, you know, just think of all these big brands like Prada and all these companies who just do things like coupons and stuff like that. They all might say, well, yeah, like this is definitely going to be beneficial to us. We could save a lot more money if we start, you know, using this kind of service rather than the usual service. So I can just imagine how many companies would want to come to start using this kind of service. And, you know, as we're seeing right now, this is being done on Hedera. So if Hedera is the company of choice, like if they go to SKUX to obviously utilize this service, this is all value flowing through HBAR. You know, so I think this is a pretty big deal, guys, because, you know, in the interview, he also says that hundreds of billions are actually being spent to try and tackle fraud. So, like, imagine how much money that's going to be saving these companies. And so that's where the demand side comes in, right? The demand is there because all these companies, of course, are going to want to save that kind of money, right? Who wouldn't? So you can see already where the demand would be, you know, like you can already see that. And this company, SKUX, they're already working with very big brands. Like, I saw something in the interview where it showed you their website and it just showed you some of the brands that they're working with now. I've already mentioned Mondelez, so I've told you what they cover, what brands they cover. I saw Pepsi there as well, Schweppes. So, you know, we've got real big companies who are already using SKUX. And so they've already got quite a reputation in that sense. Like, they've already got like big brands working for them. So it's really just about scaling, right? And, you know, we know Hedera can scale. We already know that. That's tried and tested. So we know it can do that. So to me, I only see this as a huge thing, really, in the future. I think right now it's probably still in the early stages, which is why it's probably not as big as what you would, you know, expect it to be. But if you've already got these kind of companies who are testing out the service with you, so long as it's successful, I don't see why they wouldn't want to continue and use SKUX. I can't see why you would like turn this away, because as we said earlier, they're spending billions trying to tackle fraud. So if you're taking that out of the equation, why wouldn't you want to do that to try and mitigate some of your costs? So, you know, to me, this could be a huge game changer in regards to value for HBAR. Another thing that they were looking into that they said they're trying to tackle is how they can empower merchants to be able to like buy item level payments without sharing their basket data with third parties. We already know privacy is a big thing in this day and age, so this is obviously something that's going to be a huge deal, and obviously it's important to merchants to want to keep their data safe, especially in terms of their customers' data, right? This is something that, like, from a legal perspective, they have to try and keep, you know, safe. Data protection, data privacy, right? So, again, I think this is something that if they can tackle this successfully, it's going to, again, want more companies / merchants to want to come to SKUX. If they can do this successfully, yeah, like, they can have privacy, like, they're not having to share data with third parties. Yes, that's what they want. So again, it's going to be something that's going to be very enticing for them to want to go and work with SKUX. So you'll be saving money and you can actually help us with our privacy issues as well. It's a win-win. Do you see what I'm saying? So they're tackling two very big issues here, two prominent issues that companies would want to address. The other thing they've just said is in regards to their technology being patented. Now, I've discussed this before with Hedera being patented, and Charles Hoskinson, you know, he had an issue with that. I think the thing with this, with patented technology, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it from the perspective of, oh, what is it that you're trying to hide? But you can also look at it as, we don't want our technology being copied. We don't want our idea being copied. And to me, in this day and age, when we're so early in this space, the latter makes the most obvious sense to me. It's the most obvious choice, because yes, you can say, like, what are we trying to hide? But I think in this day and age, in this early of the space of the industry, it's so easy for a company to just take the technology, like take the source code of what it is you're developing or whatever, and then just become a competitor. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, why would you want this technology to just be open and available to everyone? No, like, you want to have your secret sauce, right? You want to have something that you have unique that not everybody can just gain access to and then just try and copy or try and compete with you. So I don't look at that as a bad thing at all. I think if anything, that's them just trying to protect themselves as a company. So it makes complete sense to me. I don't really have any concerns with that whatsoever. But yeah, overall, this was a really good interview here. Not that long, so if you guys want to check it out, feel free. The HBAR Foundation have put it on their X profile, and it also has been reposted by Hedera as well. But yeah, I mean, when I look at this, what they're trying to do, it's an industry that I can see them having a very big advantage in, because again, when I'm looking at this kind of use case, it's not something I really see a lot of people discussing, right? This isn't like a use case I'm thinking, yeah, I've heard a lot of people talking about this kind of thing, like cross-border payments. You know, there's Hedera trying to do this. There's Ripple. I think there's other networks that want to try and do cross-border payments. So there is a bit more demand in that aspect with other networks with that type of use case. This one's not so much of a common use case, but the good thing for that is, again, there's not much room for competition, which means that SKUX should get a very good share, if not the majority share, within this market for doing this use case. And they're working on Hedera, so this is all value that's going to come to Hedera. So I really like this overall, thought it was a very good interview. Bobby explains it very well, but feel free to check it out, guys, if you want to see it in its entirety. But I think this is a very good use case, and I do think, you know, this is the thing where we're talking about enterprises. You know, we're not talking about retail, we're talking about enterprises. And if you're going to be having brands like Pepsi, you know, Mondelez International, Schweppes, these types of organizations, these types of brands, again, it shows you the confidence that they must have with this technology, because they're utilizing this technology for this service. It's here to stay, guys. Crypto is here to stay. Like, the things that it can do, it is going to transform whole businesses, whole industries. That's what it's going to do. So seeing Hedera being the network of choice for this kind of use case, again, confidence, reassurance, everything that I need to see. So great stuff to see here, and obviously, guys, feel free to check it out if you haven't seen it already. But what do you guys think? SKUX transforming digital payments / coupons via the Hedera network. Do you like the sound of this? Is this something that you would be interested in receiving if you was due a coupon or some kind of check? Do you think that this would be good for HBAR's price overall? Or do you not like the sound of this? Is there anything in this video that's giving you any type of cause for concern? Or do you just not think that this is going to be good for HBAR's price overall long term? Let me know your thoughts, guys. I'd be interested to hear. Thank you very much for watching this. If you did like it, please remember to drop a comment, like, and subscribe. But until next time, take care.